You search for a place to alight. From the look of it, there is only one safe place to land. There was a ferocious monster lurking in the keyword being was, because you've the group, acting as though nothing oozy or squishy has happened, alights from the vest. Perhaps the monster was attempting to hide it there. Polka gazes at the surroundings appreciatively. You can't argue with him. Greenery swathes the area all around you. Battle time. The group shrieks the words in unison. The cold is even more biting. You decide to confer with the others on your next course of action. You ask Legol's opinion on what to do next, but he offers no more than a shrug and a grunt. You ask Polka's opinion on what to do next. And if I recall correctly, it was that way, he says, pointing to the northeast. You ask Trollis's opinion on what to do next. She munches on a piece. In fact, she has a whole armful. She hands you one and motions for you to have a bite. The place is bitterly cold, but it is replete with trees and greenery and delicious. The group decides to go with Polka's idea for now, and sets off in the direction of what he thought was a village. Battle time. Are hesitating for some reason. Take this chance to bring them down. The party happens upon a half-buried. Polka boasts of his lock-picking skills. You take one look at it and announce that you could do it. You ask Legol if he could open it. He scrunches his face. Trollis, brimming with confidence, announces she can Picklock Good. This is the first you've heard of her lock-picking prowess. Feeling uneasy about your own abilities, you let Trollis take the lead. You notice the chest is now shaking on its own between kicks. The lid flies open and out comes a monster. That's how it's done? Mouth agape, you ask if Trollis knew there was a monster. You really wish she'd said that sooner, but decide not to voice the complaint. However, the place is, for caution's sake, you'd best keep your guard up if you're going to enter. The group enters. You can see traces indicating the place must have been inhabited. The place is still as death. Legole seems to be frightened of something. In any event, you want more information. You decide to investigate the village. The walls are riddled with claw marks and bloodstains. Recalling the subterranean village, you cover your mouth. Feel sick? Trollis asks. With your eyes cast downward, you spot what appears to be a scrap of paper with a drawing on it. This place must have been a weapon shop of some kind. You note a number of still usable weapons arrayed. No small number of them look like implements of torture. You and the others give the distasteful shop a quick once-over and decide to be quit of the place. This place looks like it was an inn. With a little tidying up, Legole is clearly not in favor of the idea. We're not seriously going to sleep here, are we? Polka counters that not only is there nowhere else to sleep, having argued down Legole's disagreement, the group decides to sleep at the inn. After getting a bare minimum of rest, you leave the inn. Within the small building, you find some things that look like laboratory equipment. Legol says, "Let's hurry and get out of here." The fright in his voice is plain. You feel a bit of guilt at the thought, but can't help but find it a little cute to see Legol acting. As Legol hurries everyone along, Polka inspects the equipment. He manages to locate a scrap of paper with some kind of drawing on it. On the shelves, you spy a number of salves, poultices, and other medicinals. Maybe this place was an apothecary. Polka says that several of the items could be of use, so you decide to borrow them, minus the especially suspicious-looking ones. Upon the walls of the sturdy building, there is a single word written in crude lettering. Gazing at the writing, all the color drains from Legol's face, and you reach out a hand to comfort him. But as you do, you spot a scrap of paper at his feet with what looks like a drawing on it. Having given the village a once-over, you decide to return to the inn ruin for the time being and review what you've learned. However, you don't have a clear picture of what, absent any other ideas. You take the scraps of paper you found during your search and lay them out on top of a desk. Looking at the images on the scraps, Polka realizes that they must have originally formed a single page. Huh? Trollis says, cocking her head to the side, puzzled. You might have gotten something wrong here. After taking a brief moment to collect yourself, you decide to take another shot at putting the scraps together. With the scraps assembled properly, they form what appears to be a map. Looking closely, you spot a flower drawn. Something about it calls to mind a childhood memory for Polka. Polka stands dazed and unmoving. You ask if anything is wrong, but he replies, breaking the reverie. A something black as midnight assails the party. You reach for your weapon, ready to fend off a monster. But when you take a look, Legol's upbraiding brings you back to the moment, and you grip your weapon tight, ready to fight. The monster-like thing's attacks are ferocious, like darkness come to life. Its steadily. Trollis seems to be feeling the same unease you are in regards to the creature. A masterful victory. You've managed to defeat the creature and hold a card aloft to see. It doesn't seem to work, though. Maybe this really isn't a monster after all. The four of you decide to run for it. But when you turn, you find Steelborough soldiers blocking your path, trapping you. Perhaps they're in pursuit of those responsible for killing everyone in the Senate. Legol clicks his tongue. The group decides that it would be better to take on the soldiers than to challenge the black creatures. However, the Steelborough soldiers ignore you. The thought of just running for it crosses your mind. But the soldiers are still people. You can't just leave them to die. The soldiers don't wait for your help. Polka shouts his appreciation. They turn to look at you and Polka. They attack you this time. Battle time. manage to defeat the steel, you question one of them, asking how many of them are pursuing you. In the next instant, the soldier is back on its feet and rushing at you. Legol turns to you. We shouldn't linger here. Abiding his suggestion, you decide to hurry away from the place. You decide to ask your friends what to do next. Nuterra's dangerous, Legol says. Now that we know, you can't deny the truth of what he's saying, given what just transpired in the village. Nonetheless, we should press on through Nuterra, says Polka. He is curious about the mark on the map, thinking of the Guru of Lightville and her claim that what you seek would be in Nuterra. Trollis waves her hands about, and with that, she indicates that she'll follow you. Fine. But I'm going back after we check that spot out. Polka looks carefully at the map and determines that the mark indicates a location north of where you are, between snow-capped mountains. You turn to find you're floored by his hustle, but pull yourself together enough to offer a tiny wave in reply. Battle time. The merchant's eyes are starry and bright. You ask the man how he managed to scale the end wall, and why, it seems as though he climbed over himself in pursuit of your You recoil a bit, but are nonetheless glad to have the chance to do some shopping. The bizarre rock transformed into an aqua rock. The only way out of this fight is through it. As you forge on through the snow, you come across a tattered doll. The doll appears to be covered in dark red blood. The smell of all that blood is going to attract more monsters, the rest of the party warns. Someone must be missing it, you insist, and place the bloody doll into your pack. Blood smell. With those words, a monster appears before you, nose twitching. There'll be no getting out of this fight. Get him! There's no doubt about it. But you'd better find its owner before it even if it means leaving the doll by a corpse. The party silently watches as you place the doll back into your pack. Everyone knows what must be done. You slide your weapon into a small gap in the chest. It's not pretty, but it works. Inside, you find an item that should prove useful on your travels. Battle time. Battle time. Polka the Boastful tries his hand at picking the lock. If Polka quickly inserts two needle-like, it's a rather complex lock. Finally, Polka wipes the sweat from his palms and begins explaining in painstaking detail how complicated it was, and how good he is at this, and... The next sound you hear is the crick-crack of a strained branch above your head. Uh-oh. You make a harried attempt to leap away, but your leg gets caught, and you fall. Sure enough, the snow buries you. Your companions manage to free you, but you're already chilled to the bone. According to Polka, the place that the map marker indicates should be around here. You can detect the telltale signs of life nearby. Could there be a village? You notice telltale signs of monsters, too. The mark on the map looks like it's pointing to this village. It seems like it could be dangerous to a... You say that you want to go into the village, but Legol, with uncommon zeal, Polka suddenly bursts out. He explains that the mark drawn on the map, you truly do want to agree to his request, but it would be reckless to a fault if you just marched right in without preparing. The fairies you encountered on the end wall were masquerading as Polka and Trollis, so wouldn't that mean you could use this powder to disguise yourself? You suggest to the others that you use, though reluctant to assume such a form. You're left with little other recourse. You and the others use the fairy dust and transform into monsters. Trollis seems somehow pleased with her newfound fuzziness. Certainly more pleased than Legol, who is rather less than happy about his new monster form. At any rate, the transformation has afforded you the opportunity to safely infiltrate the village, and you set off to do so. It looks like no humans live in this village. You can't hide your surprise that they live. Polka whispers into your ear. Let's hurry and look around this place before they find out what we really are. The monster offers you a ball and says, I'm much too noble. Could throw me something more valuable, the monster says, tail wagging back and forth out of a desire to play. Here, fetch, you say, throwing something. The monster returns quickly, something clutched in mouth, but not what you threw. I'm so hungry, the bone monster says. The Polka signals to you with his eyes to just ignore it. The Trollis, however, takes the bait. But that's right, chatters the monster with delight, its joints cricking and cracking. That's why I'm so hungry. With starry, lovelorn eyes, the sprite says, how I wish to see him again. Upon hearing the details from her, you think the object of her longing sounds a bit like Legol. Ha! As if, the monster snorts with laughter. You're not gonna win contest like that, one of the monsters. When you ask what kind of contest it is, the monsters leap around and reply, jumping contest. The monster running the weapon shop explains that they sell weapons stolen from adventurers. so hungry," says the bone monster, theatrically pat. After you enter the dim, you ask if something is wrong, and it explains. After taking a good look at you, the owner asks you don't especially want to help a monster. But Polka convinces you by saying it probably wouldn't hurt for us to ingratiate ourselves to the locals. You leave the village and quickly undo the transformation. You don't find it terribly enjoyable to remain in monster form. As you scan the ruins, your eyes land on a drawing of a young girl and her doll. The doll looks rather familiar. It must have belonged to the little girl who... The next instant, your companions call your name and point to the... You look back down at the floor and notice a plank. You pry the plank loose, revealing... You take the equipment from the chest and place the bloodied doll inside. "I will avenge you," you whisper. Some of the weapons on display look like tools of torture. Legol says, "This ruin looks as though it may have been an inn. Unfortunately, there isn't a single... There is some laboratory equipment in the building, along with a cage. There are several salves, poultices, and other medicinals on the shelves." Legol says, "There is a single word written in crude lettering on the wall. Help." Highly trembling, Legol says, "Wiki's not wrong. You could be attacked at any time by one of those shadowy creatures." You all agree to hurry back to town.